You're good.
Hello, Boston. As chair of the DNC, I am proud to be here in this most important announcement. Now welcoming the Senate Majority Leader and our newest Democrat, the future President of the United States, Robert J. Sanders.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucas. I find myself at a crossroads. I have championed what I believe to be a just and moral cause: liberty for every citizen of this nation. Liberty is having independence from control, restriction, etc. This control the fight for liberty is against can find itself in our world through many different ways: unfettered greed, government and corporate intervention in the lives of individuals, and an undying ambition for public office, not for the public, but for one's own status on top of a politician already greatly disconnected from the reality of our country. This is not the fault of any one person or one party, but of us all. And we all have a part to play in shifting that culture, showing the people that their politicians aren't self-obsessed megalomaniacs committed to maintaining their own status, but instead statespeople committed to them and the country they're elected to serve. I love this country deeply, and it is that love that drives me to speak today honestly about the situation we find ourselves in. Not just in the RP world, but as a community. We have heard the greatest speeches and seen the greatest men rise and fall in eternal service. We will forever be indebted to people like Martin King, Teddy Roosevelt, Eisenhower, and Kennedy, yet we find ourselves in a world antithetical to the principles and virtues they championed. The political dichotomy in this country is not based on ideas. It is based entirely on friendships. Allies and connections have an integral role in politics, nobody doubts that. But when you have people scared to speak out, assimilating in a party solely because they feel it will make them popular, no real dialogue can happen, which is essential to good legislating. This setup has not only led to the destruction of political communities in times past, but real governments in our real world. This need not be our fate. We can bring exciting, engaging politics back to the community, growing a backbone and finally allowing true, honest dialogue in our nation's politics. We can solidify a foundation for a strong and prosperous future for our children, not under failed economic systems of the past, but by building on what has worked in our past, connecting to our core principles, and having a nation that commits itself to liberty for all, once and for all. That is why it is my honor and privilege to announce my candidacy for the highest office in our world, the presidency of the United States. The crossroads I find myself at is one of party affiliation. I find it quite sad that this is the reality in America. A country controlled by parties. Washington warned us of this reality, yet this is the reality. I have always been an independent-minded person committed to the fight for liberty and my constituents. Never have I wanted to participate in parties of personality, and while both find themselves under that description, one to a much lesser degree, and this will be hard for many to hear, and I completely understand that. The Democratic Party is now the most ready for our movement of liberty to take over and actually achieve our goal of liberty for all. That is why I am stepping down as majority leader effective immediately, and will be joining the Democratic Senate caucus, and shall be seeking the Democratic nomination. Let's get something out of the way right now. This isn't solely about the incumbent or any of those people in office currently, although I feel the president is not doing what I outlined above. This is about bringing a sense of competition back to United States politics. This is about bringing to the people a choice of a continuation of the style of politics we have seen, or a new politics that brings competition, engagement, opposition, and honesty back to the United States of America. I have really good friends in the Republican Party, friends who will never not be. They know me and know I wouldn't do this if it were not for the movement of liberty. I'm ready for all the attacks, but want to begin this campaign with a baseline understanding that I have great respect for everyone in the Republican and Democratic parties, and no matter what letter is next to my name on the ballot, I am Robert J. Sanders, a man forever and entirely committed to enshrining the principles of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is really easy to rail against partisan bickering and the surface-level effects that come from the cause of fighting for one's principles. It is hard to fight for one's principles. To fight for what one believes in is to be taking on the risk of being unpopular. It means taking on the risk of falling off the ladder for which one has climbed so high. It takes political courage. I ask the American people today, do you have that courage? Do you have the courage to take on the preconceptions that have kept us from engaging in an honest dialogue? I have the utmost faith that you do. I understand and totally accept what the self-appointed pundits will say about my candidacy. I'm fully prepared for it and will rest comfortable knowing the fight we have taken on is just. I ask the American people to step aside from the culture of affability and look for new leadership. Leadership with principles. Leadership with a vision. Leadership ready on day one to take on the fight for liberty for everyone. Once and for all. Thank you all very much, and I ask for your support in this election.